Just when you think it can't get any amazinger.
America's largest train store. So yeah, right on the bike path.
There's no parking. No parking. This place is made for e-bikes.
Hey everybody, welcome to Now We Adventure. We're about to go on what I think is our best adventure yet. We're going to go from Everett to a place you probably never even heard of.
All right, so we're here in Everett, which is right next to Boston. It's right next to the Encore Casino, which is right over there. We're in this really large shopping center. There's a Costco, there's a Home Depot, I think, or looks like maybe a Big Lots. So it's this enormous parking lot. I think you're always going to be able to find parking here. This is where we've parked to start our journey. We're going to be heading up to Lynn and then hopefully Nahant, which are some really interesting places in Massachusetts. Yeah, this is a good starting point, I think, because well, first.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's begin.
All right, adventure on.
So you can see the Encore Casino is behind us, and now we're going to get onto this greenway. What's it called?
The Northern Strand Bike Route. It's also known as U.S. Bike Route 1.
Yeah, you're supposedly able to go from Maine to Florida on this.
Not really continuously, as we'll see, but this bike route is probably one of the best ones that we've been on.
Yeah, look how newly built it is. The asphalt is awesome.
Yeah, and this is taking us, again, from Everett all the way up to Lynn. So it goes through Everett, Malden, Saugus, and Lynn.
And, you know, I grew up in Massachusetts, and these are towns I never thought that you could bike through. And up until recently, you couldn't safely.
Yes.
So this is a real treat. If you are kind of like me and never thought that this was even possible, well, you'll watch this video and you'll see that it is.
Yeah. And I kind of grew up thinking that all of these were kind of rough towns and that, you don't want to, be caught there. So it's really nice to get through them in a different way where you're not in a car. So you're able to see more neighborhoods as opposed to just, the routes through these places.
Yeah, I mean, we just passed by a high school, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nice to see that we passed, in fact, a lot of schools on this route where kids could actually start to bike home from school.
Yes. And we just passed a bunch of community gardens and community fridges, too.
And on the left, that we just passed like a coffee roaster and a bakery, and it smelled so good.
It was, you better eat before you get on that trip. If they're working that day, it smelled so good. So now we're, this part's a little bit, I'm not going to say it's sketchy. It's very well-marked crossings. This entire route has very well-marked crossings. But, there are cars. You have to be mindful. So if you're with a family, just be thinking about that, but it wasn't that bad. Again, the markings were so good, and these were all protected crossings. And here we're kind of getting on the path proper. You can see a lot of the community gardens on the left, and there was a community fridge on the right. So a lot of the produce that, if you grow too many eggplants, you can put some in the community fridge.
Yeah.
Do you see what's behind me?
Yes.
America's largest train store.
America's largest train store. So yeah, right on the bike path.
So we're here in Malden. It's been beautiful so far, as you've seen. And I grew up in this area, and I didn't expect to ever see bike paths in Everett or Malden. This is amazing.
I mean, why do you think you're seeing America's largest train store? It's because this used to be a train line.
Right.
So now instead of having, cars have to stop for, minutes at a time for a whole train to go by, they're stopping for maybe 2 seconds while 3 bikers are going through.
Also, did you see all the community fridges that we just passed?
And community gardens.
So
yeah,
beautiful.
It's not that wide, but obviously when you have a train going through, you're not going to have a community garden on the side. But here you can, because this is all walkable, bikeable path.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm excited to keep continuing.
All right, let's.
I so wanted to go into that train store because as a kid, I had, model trains, and I haven't gotten to play with them for years.
Yeah.
But so maybe that's a nice little stop for you guys on your adventures, to go in there with your kids and play with the trains.
I think so. Especially if you're going on a bike ride with a family, you're going to need some stops along the way where you can kind of catch your breath.
Well, and that's what's interesting about this route is even though it's annoying as a bike rider to have to cross the street, if you want to, you can just go into one of these towns, and go get a coffee. So that's a nice kind of break.
Yeah. And, this section might not look like the prettiest, but again, it's so nice to be able to get through some of these places so that way you can get to some of the more beautiful spots.
And you notice how they did a really good job of mowing on the sides here, because this was, I think early fall, and it could have been overgrown, but it was really well kept up. And when it's wide like that, it just makes it feel even safer.
Yep. And again, some really well-marked crossings. I love the blue. Kind of just lets everybody know exactly where you're going to be going. Lets you know where you're going to be going, too. you know, that underpass didn't feel sketchy. It didn't feel like anyone was going to be, you know, jumping out at you.
And look at where we are now. I mean,
Yeah.
I never thought that we could see the marsh like this.
Right. Like 10 seconds ago, I was telling you about how, like, we're just trying to get through this, and now we have a beautiful view of the marsh. And so this next section coming up was really nice in terms of the tree cover. So when it's going to be warmer out, this is going to give you a lot of shade. You saw some of those rocks, as you know, this used to be a train line, so they blasted those rocks. And what that does is it keeps this whole ride really, really flat. So there were not a lot of hills all along this bike route because, again, trains don't really love going up hills, and, well, neither do bikers. So it's actually nice to take over train lines.
Good point. Until we got to Nahant, it was super flat.
Yeah.
And along this part, you don't need a fat tire bike like we're riding here. You can ride this easily with a regular bike.
Anything with wheels, all the way down to roller skates, roller blades. You're going to be
you can
totally
do
fine.
e-scooters here. Also, just walks with your
Strollers.
family. A lot of people dog walking, so it's all types of people,
Yep.
all types of modes.
And you could see that it was a little bit more overgrown on this section. It kind of narrows up the path a little bit, so you can see us having to kind of dodge people, but really well kept otherwise.
Oh, and you might see there, I'm going to talk about it in a second, that we just passed a Boston police officer. I think we're going to talk about it right here at this bridge.
I don't know if you just caught this, Jesse, on the footage, but a police officer on a bike was riding by, patrolling. I think it's one of the first times I've seen it in this area, and it makes me feel really good because, if you see that, you know that you're in a safe place.
Yeah, and it's great that he's on a bike and not like some big SUV driving down this, which it wouldn't make it. I think it's a really good sign. I think it's awesome that they're on bikes.
Yeah, and just look at this view behind us, this marsh, and didn't you just see some birds? I didn't catch them.
I think I just saw an egret, so I mean that's.
And Max caught an ibis. Did you see an ibis?
I think that was
An
the
ibis.
yeah, I was the same
That's
thing.
great. That's so awesome.
It's so beautiful. We're in Saugus, Massachusetts, and I mean, I grew up thinking of Saugus as kind of place you just get through as quick as possible.
Yeah.
The Golden Banana on Route 1 or whatever, but like this is a completely different Saugus. This
Right.
is beautiful.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with there being no parking and just miles and miles of beautiful bike trails.
Yeah.
And it really is miles and miles. I think this whole trip is probably in the, 25-ish miles round trip.
Yeah.
So it was a really nice way to kind of stretch our legs in terms of e-biking. And look at this. Look at how beautiful this is. I didn't know these views of Boston existed. Having that marsh and boats and what a beautiful little estuary that you can bike next to. I mean, normally you just wouldn't be able to see that stuff. You'd have to either live there or never see it in your entire life.
Yeah, and just birds. I mean, we got to see so many different kinds of birds on this
Yeah.
trip. Something you don't even think about happening in these towns.
Yeah, and I love this little playground that's built right next to some housing and a park and some gardens. It was really nice. And here we're coming into Lynn. We're gonna kind of miss the turn that we're supposed to take. There's some more gardens and beautiful stuff, and we're gonna hit the end of the line, quite literally.
And extra bonus points if you can see a wild animal coming up on our left.
There's some animal in that box.
So bonus points, guys. If you're here and you see the bobcat in the box, please comment down below. But we must have taken a wrong turn.
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to take a left about a mile back or half a mile back. So we'll go do that. But this is actually cool. We got to the end of the line here. Where are we? Saugus?
We are in. Wait for it. I think we're in the outskirts of Lynn.
Now, I just want to mention we're on the East Coast Greenway. So if you watch our video where we went from Peabody to Georgetown, we were on the Greenway then, and this is going to connect up to that somehow. So that's really cool to know. The other thing I want to mention is you notice that we're doing a lot of windy paths to get here, and it's really cool. It's traffic calming. It means that we had to slow down, and so in that very residential area where people could actually get onto the path from their houses, we're not going to just whiz by their house, right?
Or run them over.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we're going to go back. We're going to do one crossing, and after that crossing, it'll be the next right.
So yeah, we quite literally hit the end of the line there. We're turning around, but we're not done yet. We're going to turn off the path and drive through Lynn all the way to the coast, and then from there, we're going to head into Nahant.
And I was a little worried at this point because I'm like, these just look like scary Lynn roads. So if you're doing this with a family, you might want to get off and walk on the sidewalks because on some of this there's bike path and some of this there isn't.
Yes, and you can see that we're on the bike path here, and it's being intruded upon a little bit. A little bit, people want the road and they want to take it for themselves, but other than just a few encounters, it was pretty good. But it's a very busy street, so that was a little bit sketchy, although there were nice wide sidewalks, so if you wanted to walk with your family, you could. And then this section, again, very busy, a little bit sketchy, and we're trying to, navigate our way straight to the coast. We're going to take a bridge over a very busy road, which was nice that this bridge exists. You might have noticed our apprehension when talking about Lynn. It doesn't have the best reputation in terms of town. It's called Lynn, City of Sin. You never come out the way you come in.
I feel like that was from the 80s. I feel like Lynn's gotten better.
It certainly has.
All right, so we're in Lynn.
We're in Lynn. We made it all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, which, we were basically on when we started.
Yeah, the fog is rolling in, but it's beautiful. There's a nice sea breeze. This is an amazing ride. The only thing that got a little complicated there, you probably saw as we were going through, there is bikes written on the ground, but just be very careful. And Jesse, you did a great job finding this because it's hard to find that overpass.
Yeah, the overpass was nice. There was a crossing just a little ways down, so even if the bridge collapses, I think you can still make it here. But I just think, that once you make it through Lynn, you're going to be right here. I think we're going to be able to make our way to Nahant.
Where?
Right up there. Where? It's pretty hard to see with all the fog, but yeah, we're going to go right into it. It's going to be really cool. A real change in climate. If you look that way, it's all blue. And if you look this way, it's all gray. So we're going to go into the thick of it. I think it's going to be a really cool ride. Cool. Let's go check it out.
It was such a crazy foggy day. It really made for some beautiful scenery that you'll see coming up in Nahant. So I just want to talk about Nahant. Nahant is this town that you can only get to from this little causeway, and it's in the middle, as you're seeing on the map here, of the Boston Harbor. And so most people, I grew up in Massachusetts, and I rarely went there. And if you're from outside of Massachusetts, you've probably never been there.
Now, you may go to the beach at Nahant because this entire neck is basically a double-sided beach, and there's parking. You'll see some parking in just a minute.
So we're on the road to Nahant here.
Yeah, we're in Nahant.
Technically.
Yeah.
I always think of it as the peninsula at the end, but it's also the skinny neck on the way there. And there is what looks to be a bike path, which we're going to take.
We're authorized.
Yeah, exactly. So we're just going to kind of dodge the puppies, and
we're just 5 minutes from where we just were. So,
right.
Yeah.
You can't tell where the sky begins and the ocean starts. It's amazing. So, yeah, it's going to be a great ride.
So my Nahant hack here would be to come not in the summer.
Yes.
Obviously, the summer's great if you want to go to the beach, but if you're doing like we did in the fall, there'll be nobody there practically,
Yes.
and so you can park for free.
All on the right there is parking for the beach, and normally you'd have to pay for it, but off season it's going to be free, and you're going to be able to come in, park, drop off the bikes, hit Nahant if you want to. You can hit lots of other parts of Boston.
And
if
in
you want
fact,
to.
spoiler alert, upcoming episode, we are going to do that. So make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss our next adventure where we do that.
Yeah, we're going to start actually right around here and
Go
head
north.
north up the coast into some other towns. So subscribe so you don't miss that. But yeah, what a beautiful trip that was through the dunes and the beach, and you get all the beachy vegetation that you just never get to walk around unless you're at the beach.
And again, being on a bike, you can stop whenever you want and just sit on the beach.
Exactly. So now we're headed into what's called Little Nahant. There's Little Nahant and Big Nahant. Little Nahant is smaller, believe it or not, and it's a huge hill, which we are now climbing on our e-bikes. And I have to be honest, if it weren't for the e-bike, I would never have been able to make it up that hill.
I agree. Yep.
You can see us just coasting down now because of all the elevation that we just put in. Thank you, electric motors. That was awesome. And now we're getting back onto the road leading to Big Nahant. Pretty good path here.
Yeah, one interesting thing that we noticed is that there are a lot of police presence in Nahant. It's like they knew that you shouldn't be there if you shouldn't be there.
Yes.
And so, fine if you're on a bike. In fact, my little hack here would be to wear a polo shirt.
Yep. Oh, and there was the one store on Nahant. That's the one store.
All right, if you're looking on the map right now, we're in Nahant. So there's Little Nahant, and then we're in the Big Major Nahant,
Yes.
downtown Nahant. And this is a cemetery that we're in. This beautiful stone building. It feels like we're in England.
Yeah. Really out of time, and I don't know where we would park if we wanted to visit this place. I mean, being on a bike is such a huge advantage.
Yeah.
To be able to just stop here,
Right.
for like as long as you want, and then to continue.
I feel like Nahant is the kind of place you could do multiple adventures.
Yeah.
So again, this island is almost entirely residential. So you're gonna have some schools, you're gonna have a police department, and that's about it. It's just the rest of it is going to be houses. And you will notice that there is no parking anywhere on the island, aside from people's driveways, which you're not allowed to park unless you live in that house.
Which is why e-biking is so amazing here. Now, you might be like, hang on, you're not on a bike path, but the roads are so quiet because this is just a residential
We're at
sleepy
the
town.
end of a peninsula,
Right.
right? No one is heading off, to go anywhere.
Right.
They're just either going to their house or they're leaving their house.
So it really feels very safe and quiet.
And everyone thought that we lived there.
Yep.
Because why would they expect that anyone on a bike would have gotten there any other way?
Just when you think it can't get any amazinger here, it's amazing.
It's more amazing.
Now, you just said you want to try and hit, like, what, the tippity top of Nahant?
Tippity tip, and I mean, you can't get there by car. At least you're not allowed to park. So
Yeah, there is no parking.
no parking. This place is made for e-bikes. It's made for residents, but we're gonna be nice, obviously.
All right, let's do it.
So now we're heading into what's called East Point Loop Station. You can see the police presence following us in, and if we were in a car, he may have lit us up. We may have, whoop whoop. What are you doing here? But we're on e-bikes, so we don't get bothered at all, and we get to go into East Point Loop Station.
2 minutes from where we just were, but oh my god, this is amazing. I feel like now we're in Ireland.
Yeah, this is I mean, because it's so misty, you can't see anything, which is kind of cool. You can still see and hear the waves, but you can't see any of the rest of the ocean. I do want to come back here when it's not so misty, but it is actually really cool.
And again, you couldn't get here if it
No.
weren't for e-bikes.
We passed sign after sign, restricted. So not only would you have to be a resident to even get into this complex, to be able to park up here, you'd either need a handicap pass or basically some kind of special clearance to be able to park here.
Not to mention the elevation.
I know.
If you're not, on an e-bike, trying to bike this would be really hard.
I mean, I guess you could walk it, but yeah, this is one of the many places that you're only going to be able to reach on an e-bike, and I think that is one of the most amazing parts about it.
Did you see those batteries that we passed on the way here? Like World War II
Yeah,
gun
built
batteries?
in 1942 out of concrete. I think there's one like down over there. Yeah, so I mean, this is going to be our
defense.
line of defense. So this is just absolutely amazing.
Wow, this has been a fun adventure.
Now, you heard me mention batteries there. I don't mean e-bike batteries. I mean World War II batteries.
Guns.
Right.
Big guns to shoot battleships
So
with.
another fun thing to like explore with your kids if you want to see things that are historical.
Yeah, I mean, we could have probably spent, I don't know, half an hour to an hour there, just kind of walking around and exploring, but we have an adventure to go on and to take you along with. So
And by the way, that was owned by Northeastern University, and so that's like their little research station or whatever. And again, not a place that you can just pull in with a car.
right. But the only reason they get to be there is because they're nice to the locals. And so that's why residents get to check it out. And by check out, I mean park. And so now we get to ride through Nahant, which is a beautiful neighborhood because, well, they don't have any neighbors.
Yeah, these are some beautiful houses. And again, foggy day, so you can't really see the view, although it did make it really special. But on a not so foggy day, you'd have just amazing views.
And a lot of coast because obviously you're on this jutting out peninsula into Boston Harbor. So great views of Boston. Again, we didn't get any great views of Boston because it's so foggy, but again, it gives it this otherworldly feel. And you only get that kind of weather because it's jutting out into the bay.
And I'll say, if you're from anywhere else in the world, this Nahant's going to seem like a magical place. Like, we're from New England, so we're kind of used to this kind of town already, but it is just transcendent.
Yep. So we just passed the one restaurant and the one store, and we're headed back. Oh, there's the police presence. You don't live here. Whoop, whoop. So, yeah, we're headed back towards Little Nahant across the neck, and we're not going to take a detour through Little Nahant this time. We're going to go straight through to kind of show you what that looks like. Doesn't take more than a minute or two to get through Little Nahant, and then we're going to get back on the trail that heads down the neck again.
Yeah, and again, I mean, if this were summer, it would be packed.
Yes.
So I recommend spring or fall.
Yep.
And a couple little hacks here. Bring along some sunglasses, because for part of your trip, it's probably going to be in your eyes. And something I didn't do, but I should have, is put a visor on my helmet. That would have cut down on glare so much, and next season I'm definitely doing that.
And you can see that fog like rolling in off the ocean.
Oh, it's just lifting right now.
And now
It's
it just
so magical.
clears
Look at
up.
that blue sky.
It's a blue sky day.
It's
and-
like we ordered it for you.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing. Like, the weather looked bad when we were on Nahant, but it's actually this kind of day. It's just misty, which, if you haven't experienced that before, is like really, really cool. So now we're headed back to Lynn and kind of retracing our steps here.
It feels so weird to go from Nahant back into a like highly trafficked place, because
Yes.
it feels like, just wait a minute, a second ago I was in this magical land.
And yeah, so we're taking these sidewalks here to get to this bridge, and then we're going to take the bridge to get back over that busy road, and then we're going to go from there into Lynn, and then we're going to get back onto that amazing bike path that we took earlier.
You know, the last time I had been in Nahant, I think, was in the 1980s before this trip. I was a DJ, and I think we had played a gig at like the VFW hall or something.
And that's
in Nahant.
basically the only reason anyone would have to go to
Exactly,
Lynn.
because there's, like you said,
wouldn't
there's
have been
no
able to park
restaurants.
anywhere else.
Exactly, there's no, unless you have a friend who lives in Nahant, there's no way to even spend time there.
Yes.
Other than the little bit of beach.
And so that was a great adventure because, again, getting to see these places that, you know, I have lived less than 30 miles away from for my entire life and have never actually been to.
Do you
is
notice
awesome.
here that we get our own bike lane because we're in the bus lane, which is nice and wide. And
Yes.
also, we get to go just about as fast as the cars, pretty much,
Yep.
because this is getting to be rush hour, and we get to basically speed past a lot of people.
Yeah. And that's where e-bikes are also nice. You get to go nice and fast, which means that you're keeping up with traffic. They know that you're there because you've been next to them for quite a while.
Hey, did you just give someone the finger?
Well, that guy wasn't really driving the way I thought he should. And so, yeah, here we're back on the bike path. Again, beautiful bike path, leads all the way back.
And if you're wondering, you know, why does it look like we're going 100 miles an hour? It's because we're shooting this at 10x speed, and we're doing that to find kind of the right speed for you. We don't want to bore you with 4 hours of footage, but we also want to make sure that you can see enough detail. So we found this speed we think works the best, and so it makes it look like we're going about 100 miles an hour.
Yep. So you can see that, again, really good crossings, really good paint. A lot more people are on the bike path on our way home because we're a little bit closer to rush hour. And so there's actual rush hour on the bike lane. Lots of people on e-bikes too,
Yeah.
which was very exciting to see.
But interesting that we only saw, I think, one person on an e-scooter. And so
Yep.
if you're watching this from other parts of the country, you might be like, why do you guys have no e-scooters? Well, East Coast, cold, snow, not as popular here.
Yeah. And again, beautiful cut through the marsh on both sides.
I know.
It means that, you know, you would have never experienced this in a car.
Thank you, Rail Line.
I know.
Because, I mean, they got to basically have it, and most people don't.
Thank you for stealing land in order to cut through idyllic places.
Oh, and then check this out. We get to see, again, Boston police officers on e-bikes. And this is just a big plug here if you're in a police force. Put your officers on e-bikes. It's a great way to get through a city quickly, but also slowly when you want to. And it makes I think it makes the citizenry feel very secure.
Well, and why do you think you see so many people on this bike path? Everybody's feeling very, very safe.
Yeah.
Despite there being all sorts of bushes and stuff like that. I think that if you know it's patrolled, you know that it's going to feel safe. And again, you know, these are some of the more rough and tumble towns. And again, this is all reputation from the 80s, but I think that that's going to make people feel like they can use this path.
Well, and think of how much the property values go up when you put a bike path like this through a town, because it just connects the community in such a wonderful way.
Yeah. And I kind of wish that we saw more bike paths that connected to this bike path. I think that would make it a whole lot more useful, because then you could get, you know, not just from Everett to Nahant, you could get more into Saugus, more into Revere, and other places like that.
And again, subscribe to this channel because we do a whole lot more in the Boston area, places you probably never thought you could get to on an e-bike.
If you subscribe, you're going to see videos that are going to basically take you from south of Boston to, well, north of Boston.
Yeah, into New Hampshire.
Continuous bike routes
Yeah.
that I've been meticulously scouring the internet on maps to try and find. And I am so excited to be able to bring these to you. I'm so excited to be able to go on these. So thank you so much to everyone watching.
We just went through like a little traffic jam there on
I
the
know,
bike path.
little e-bike traffic jam. because there's so many people using the bike path.
Which
and
is
no
great.
wonder, it's such a beautiful trail. I would say even if you weren't going anywhere, like even if you just wanted to go for a long bike ride and you wanted to see lots of scenery, this is a really, really nice one. It's the Northern Strand. It goes from Everett to Lynn, and I was just blown away. It was so well kept. It was nice and wide, really well marked crossings. Get it while the getting's good. I'm sure the paint's going to start wearing away this winter. So
That's true. I mean, when they first build these things, there's no potholes yet, but hopefully they'll keep it up.
Yep.
Another hack here is make sure you have a bell on your bike, because as you are approaching some people, it's nice to let them know that you're coming.
Yep. And you could see some parking there as we were headed through kind of downtown Malden and Everett.
Yeah, that would be another starting point.
Yes. So it's nice to see.
But I think what we found at the Encore is, and over at the Costco there, is a great little hack, because, it's a Costco parking lot. There's always going to be spaces.
It's a little bit hard to get to in terms of driving. Like, if you're not used to Boston traffic, it's definitely a very stressful way to get there. But once you're there, free parking near Boston. It's pretty much the closest parking lot that I could find that's free. And again, pulling in here back to our starting point, you can see the Encore right in, it's gone now, behind the trees. But I mean, I was just blown away by how far we were able to go in a day on an e-bike.
Yeah, it's kind of the perfect amount of distance for me. You feel like you actually accomplished something, but you're not so tired that you have to go right to bed.
Yeah, and it's, again, the right speed. You get to take in a whole lot of stuff. It's not the same as when you're whizzing by in a car. You're on the bike, you're able to take stuff in, get a good look at it, move on, and then, see about 25 miles worth of that. It's just so exciting. So
And we're going to ride right down to the Encore. And before Encore came in here, this was a really bad part of town. So, I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but thank you, Casino.
So I guess we ended up in a weird spot.
Yes.
So this is the Encore Casino Resort Hotel.
So,
so this part of Boston and Everett used to be just the worst. Like, I don't think I ever set foot here before. Just kind of dilapidated. So, I mean, good for them investing some money in it. And we're here with the windmill on our left. And just an amazing ride today. I just recommend anyone try that ride out, because I didn't think it would be as beautiful and as relaxing as it was.
yeah.
And I didn't think you could go from Everett to Nahant.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that this bike path will lead you to Alfred Street, which should get you to Boston. So basically over that bridge right there.
I think that should be a future ride.
Yeah, because that would get you into like Charlestown and Assembly. It could get you to Assembly Square.
That would be a fun ride, I think, if we did from here to Charlestown or something.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that sometime.
I think it's a really well situated parking spot. I think that as long as we go back and the truck is still there, I think that we're in really good shape for many adventures starting from that location.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. If you have comments or thoughts about what you just saw, places you want us to go, things you want to check out, or questions you have, put them down below. We'll try and get them answered.
Thanks so much for watching. Now let's adventure.